Today we're talking tomatoes. I suspect that most of us just head to the big box store when we want to buy tomatoes, and we look through the varieties and see what's there, and we pick from what's available. But you need to ask yourself something first. So you want to grow tomatoes. So what do you have to do? Now you have to decide. Beefsteak, globe, cherry, indeterminate, determinate. What color do you like? Red, orange, yellow, bicolor, heirloom, hybrid?
Do you want a hybrid or heirloom? Hybrid tomatoes often have disease resistance bred into them that heirlooms lack. In fact, hybrid tomato varieties have many advantages compared to open pollinated varieties. Hybrids usually produce higher yields, they generally mature earlier, more uniformly, and many hybrids have better fruit quality. Heirlooms, loosely defined, are open pollinated cultivars that were introduced many generations ago and were of such merit that they've been saved, maintained, and handed down. It's generally agreed that no genetically modified plants could be considered heirloom cultivars. Heirlooms are often not as productive as hybrids, but they typically taste better. Most heirlooms are indeterminate types, meaning they grow long, sprawling vines and produce tomatoes continuously throughout the season.
This gardener's suggestion is I stick to the hybrids. They're more disease resistant and you get better production. If you're an experienced gardener and you're going to plant 6 or more, add an heirloom. It's fine. They're fun too.
What shape or size tomato do you want? There are 4 different shapes. There's a round or globe shape. Those are the most commercially used shapes of tomatoes. There's a beefsteak tomato, which is irregularly shaped. There is a paste tomato, which is elongated, often used for sauces. And there's the cherry tomato, which is the size of a penny or a quarter.
This gardener's suggestion, select more than one shape of tomato. Many times you'll find that they mature at different times. Thus, you can lengthening your production or your harvest period by having different shapes of tomatoes. I always plant a cherry tomato because the success rate always seems to be the highest. If you found something useful in this video, give me a thumbs up.
Determinate or indeterminate? A determinate tomato plant has ripening tomatoes for several weeks and then production starts to fade. That's because it forms a flower cluster at the terminal growing point, which causes the plant to stop growth. It will be a maximum of 3 to 4 feet. The indeterminate tomato plant produces fruit throughout the season, and this is a vine. It never sets terminal flower clusters, and only the lateral ones, which causes it to continue growing throughout the season.
This gardener's suggestion, I realize that most people make the mistake depending on the size of the area that they have to plant. I always choose the varieties I want, regardless of whether it's a determinate or an indeterminate. You can grow an indeterminate in a pot. There's nothing more exciting than have a very fruitful, productive, wildly out of growth indeterminate in a pot to say, you're the king of the garden. Because indeterminates will tend to produce and ripen all in the matter of a couple of weeks. You have a shorter production period to eat and enjoy your tomatoes. Indeterminates will be able to produce through a longer period of time, thus lengthen the time you can enjoy and eat your tomatoes. What color tomato do I like? Red, red, and red. That is, until I grew a yellow tomato, and boy was it good. As a rule of thumb, all hybrids are going to be red. Heirlooms will tend to have bicolors or multicolors. Heirlooms are bred to produce a wide variety of colors are bicolors and tricolor tomatoes, thanks to growers like Wild Boar Farms in Napa and Johnny Selected Seeds in Albion, Maine. We now have heirlooms of every color that you can think of.
Now let's talk about light, water, and fertilizer. Tomatoes are heavy feeders. They need healthy, rich soil in order to produce a good crop. Compost is a valuable soil amendment. It operates as a soil conditioner, helping improve poor soil or rebuilding the soil. Plant your tomato in a well-prepared garden that gets at least 7 to 8 hours of sunlight a day. This means full sun, no shade. As to watering, tomatoes need 1 to 3 inches of water a week, depending on temperatures. More importantly, tomatoes need consistent watering. Drip irrigation is ideal. Tomatoes are fast growers. They require significant amounts of nutrients to put out branches, develop blossoms, and form fruit, all in just a few short weeks. The tomato fertilizer you added when planting will last only a short time. Help your growing tomatoes thrive by continuing to give them the nutrients they need.
This gardener suggestion, I would suggest you fertilize every 3rd time you water. That may seem like a lot, but in reality, these tomatoes are really growing. And one of the most critical things that I suggest is when you want your tomatoes to bloom, prior to the date that you need to have them blooming, you need to give them super bloom. You need to give them super bloom. This is what I recommend. It has a 15, 55, 6. The high middle number is what you're looking for. This will kickstart your tomato plants into producing lots of flowers. Flowers is where the fruit comes from. If you found something useful in this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed this and want to remember this information, be sure and subscribe down below, and you'll be able to come back to this video on a regular basis.